Hello there. Evilslothman hasn't been making a vid for the past few days. He can't really be bothered. So, he needs a little persuasion. He's finally going to get around to responding to the tag video from Lee Bossu77 in regarding games, consoles, and characters. But as you can see, he's still reluctant. So, get on with it.
It's evilslothman. And here we have top 5 tag. Alright. We have to do the top 5 games, system, and characters. And basically, I spent too long actually deciding on this list. It took a good 20 to 25 minutes to beat. And it's all subject to change. I think if somebody asked me this tomorrow, it would probably be different. So, we'll go with characters first. I've written down a list, you see. Well, cyberlanky wrote down a list. We have a list. So, I would probably forget, knowing me. Right, okay. Number 5. See, every time I think of that, I just start thinking of the Twix. You know the old Twix music chart thing? And it's just like that whole chart thing, the Twix number 5. Number 5! Right. But number 5 character is Dixie Kong. Now, I used to love the Donkey Kong Land games, especially on the Game Boy, and 2 and 3 in particular. And Dixie was always my most useful character on that, basically because she had the glide ability, and it just was, I found it easier. Though I do respect more Diddy now when trying to go for Donkey Kong Country 2, because that was a fucking nightmare getting up some of them places without him. But, there we go. Number 4 is Peppy Hare from Lilac Wars and Star Wing and every Star Fox Adventures, which I started playing again every day. I actually figured out where I was meant to go. It took a while though. But I always loved Peppy. Peppy was my favourite character in when I was playing Lilac Wars, even when I was younger, and I don't know what it is, but I just particularly like his character. So yeah, I think that was just great character. Number 3 is Mario, and I think we can all accept that just a lot of brilliant games, just standout character. Most of the games I remember when I was really young was more like the Mario Land games on the Game Boy, and some of the stuff on the N64, like Mario 64, and playing Mario Party, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf. There's a lot.
Mario Frisbee.
What? Shut up. Number 2 is my all-time favourite character when I'm playing Super Smash Bros. In any iteration, and it's Kirby. And I got a lend of Kirby's Dream Land on my Game Boy when I was out in Germany years and years ago. I must have been only about 6 or 7. Loved that game and always remembered the character. I never actually got any of the other ones because I didn't have a NES and I didn't have a Super Nintendo. So I never picked up even Dreamland 2, I don't think, on the Game Boy. But everything else, it's just, I really like that character. I've bought Kirby's Adventure on the Famicom, especially because I do use that character predominantly in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and I am quite deadly with him, though I do kind of cheat and use a lot of repetitive moves. And number 1 is Sonic the Hedgehog. I was always kind of a Mega Drive boy when I was younger. I got the Mega Drive with Sonic 2, and I picked up 1 quite cheap, I think, at the time. I think it was still about 19 quid, actually, thinking about it. I can believe that. It was in Woolies, actually. I loved Sonic 3, loved Knuckles, loved other game. Let's see, I loved Adventure 2, Adventure 1. Wasn't keen on 3D Blast, hated it. But I always seem to go back. It's like I left a lot of Sonic games recently, especially like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 2006. But I always seem to come back, and I bought Unleashed recently. So it's always a character I always seem to come back to. Next list is consoles. So we're going to start this off with Nintendo Wii. it's a console that up until recently I hadn't really played all that much. I kind of left it in as a footnote. It's like basically, however, people have called it a doorstop because there's not enough games on it. But I'm just really disagreeing with that notion at the moment, especially after the Nintendo conference at the last week. You've got like Sin and Punishment 2, you've got Super Mario Galaxy 2, Metroid Other M, you've got Monster Hunter Tri, and there's so many good games coming out before the summer, and we've got probably Zelda on the way at Christmas time. So it's looking like a really good year to be a Nintendo fan, especially on the Wii console. And every time I'm going out now, I'm finding more and more games that I think are really good that should be played on the Wii. Number 4 is the GameCube. Now, I got this years ago and it's still kept the same one. I love a load of games in this, especially like games like Mario Golf. I wasn't too bad on Sunshine. I thought it was alright. I've had just a load of games on that console and played through them, especially Time Splitters Future Perfect, which I can't find, and I'm fucking annoyed that I can't find it. But I just think it's a great console and is sorely underrated compared to the PS2 and the Xbox at the time. I just thought that there was a lot of good games that maybe a lot of people just missed past. Number 3 is the Game Boy, the original block Game Boy, 4 batteries, bitch console. I do think I had this. It was one of my very first systems, and I just played it a load of time. I had the Amazing Spider-Man, WWF Superstars. I had loads of good games in that system. I thought it just had so many hours on that system. I would say more games, but well, a few of these come up in my favourite games the next bit anyway. Number 2 is the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive was one of the first home console systems I ever got. I got it with Sonic 2. I've played through so many games when I had it. I had about 25 games at the time. And now I'm really wanting to get back to actually collecting a few more, but you take priorities at the moment, and at the moment my priorities are probably the Wii and the N64, with some dabbling in the PS3 and the 360 when we're at it. But I do think it is a brilliant console. It was totally my favourite console at the time, and still is. I had to get the Model 2 because that was the one I had. I could, even though the Model 1 I think looks a tiny bit better, I just can't see myself ever getting one. And number 1 is the N64. And the N64, I remember I had to sell my original Mega Drive to get, and it was totally worth it. The 2 things I got with it were GoldenEye and Mario 64. And my dad was really wanting us to play GoldenEye, and at the time I didn't want to. I was wanting to get into Mario 64. I actually snuck it down from where they were hiding it and played it and then put it back, though they may not know that. But I had that with No Mercy. You had Zelda Ocarina of Time. You had Mario Kart 64. You had Smash Brothers. Lots and lots of games that are just. It's a brilliant, brilliant system, and one I'll be collecting a hell of a lot more soon, and more information on that soon. Right. Top 5 list of games. We're going to have to rush through this quick because we have about, 2 minutes. Right. Number 5, Pokemon Red. I got addicted to this when I had it at the time.
Titanic battles.
We had, me and cyberlanky, we just had massive battles in this. Every week going to this band rehearsals and everything, we had to train our Pokemon of the week. So when they came to the battle, we were ready.
I think it lasted about 45 minutes once?
Yes, some of them have. They were quite epic. Number 4, Super Mario Land 2. This was one of the really first Super Mario games that I really got into. I fully went round and tried to unlock everything. I went back and I've played it through again and again, and it's just a brilliant, brilliant game. Number 3 is Zelda Link's Awakening, my personal favourite Legend of Zelda game. I just think it was the first, and probably that's maybe why, because of nostalgia and everything, but going through it, it's lots and lots of great things. It's the only Zelda game I've ever fully completed. I've got every heart, every weapon, everything. So, number 2 is GoldenEye on the N64. I just had so many epic battles in that game. It's just going through with back at high school. I had it in both high schools I went to. I had just so many epic battles. It was just unreal. How this my personal favorite settings is to set it with pistols and License to Kill. But right, number one, I think I mentioned just in the last tagging video. It was like your favorite game, wasn't it? And I said Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It doesn't change. My favorite game has always been Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I just remember my dad driving me to St Andrews to pick that up, and it's the only Mega Drive game I can ever remember having a cardboard box. That's possibly just my memory. But I just loved that game. I played it so many times, unlocked everything, all the Hyper Emeralds and everything. Loved the bonus stages once I got to grips with them. And I do love all the bosses and everything. But that is all we have time for. This is Evil Slothman.